Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Midday Western U.S. Regional Forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, our first animation here is from yesterday, and once again, we're watching the rather large fires that are in parts of Arizona and New Mexico. Air quality in this particular region is very low, and I'm going to show it to you in just a few moments here. A couple of interesting things to point out. Some of the smoke, especially off of this fire right in through here, produced later on in the day what are called pyrocumulus clouds. Those are cumulus clouds that form on the smoke in this area. But overall, we can see that throughout much of Arizona and New Mexico, especially as you follow these winds toward the north and east, the air quality was dramatically reduced and quite problematic. Now, something interesting I want to point out to you. When you watch this animation, keep an eye right over in this area, specifically like right here where the cursor is pointed. Can you see the little flashes that happen there? And then again, one right down here. I believe what we're seeing here from our geostationary satellites is the reflection of sunlight off of solar panel facilities. Could be concentrated solar or could be large solar arrays. I don't know, but we're getting a really cool flash off of those. So I just wanted to point out something neat that we can kind of see here from space. Okay, next I would like to show you what the next 18 hours or so looks like in terms of vertically integrated smoke. So once again, we see today that these fires that are in parts of Arizona and New Mexico will once again, on the heat of the day and the wind of the day, continue to spread. And this really is a reflection of how very dry things have been here with these strong southwest winds that have raced out of Arizona and New Mexico here. The smoke from some of these fires could actually make it all the way to the Great Lakes. Do you see that? It's impressive to say and to see. At the very least. So we need to see if any sort of monsoonal moisture is coming in here, and unfortunately in the near term it doesn't appear that we're going to be getting any sort of early onset of the monsoon at this point. Let's get in and talk about drought though. This is the latest drought monitor map that was released yesterday on Thursday the 18th, and what's important for us to do when we see this is to compare it to what's changed. So when you look at this again, that we have degradation in drought in these colors and improvement in drought in these colors, and a lot of the West saw no change at all. Just a few interior parts of Oregon and Nevada saw some degradation of drought. And overall, we are very happy to see that that's where it's been limited to for the whole scope of the western United States. This is certainly one of those early summers where we've not seen kind of the prolific spreading of drought, which can happen at this time of year. Now, in the last 72 hours, precipitation has primarily been confined to the deeper trough that's pulling into the Canadian prairies. And of course, we did see here in parts of the mountains of Idaho some snow. But overall, much of the rest of the western United States has seen a relatively dry last 72 hours, just very, very light scattered precip, even as you work your way up into parts of Washington and Oregon. Well, over the next week, the broad scale view of things, it's going to be relatively dry across the western United States. We'll talk about when the precipitation is coming through, but when we compare it to normal, certainly this is the first time in a while that we don't see any spot in the west showing up with even a slight wet bias. Just to show you the pattern, I think there's a lot to understand about this pattern. I'm going to play it for you first. As you watch this animation, you will see in the near term ridging that builds into the weekend and next week. But then by the time we get to next weekend, see the trough that slides in there? That trough that comes through is just going to continue us on our roller coaster ride of temperatures. And as we get out here all the way to July the 3rd, the flow pattern as it's coming into the west is very typical of summer flow. The problem is when we get down here and see that there's this elongated ridge feature right in through here that kind of pushes into the central United States. This is not the best setup to be returning moisture either from the Pacific or from the Gulf of Mexico to bring on early onset monsoonal precipitation here in the southwest. So while this pattern continues to undulate with temperatures along the west coast, bringing in extreme heat and then knocking it back, it is not one that brings in the moisture that I would like to see returning down here to the southwestern part of the United States. So let's just play it forward and see when the rain gets here for parts of coastal Oregon and Washington. It's going to be possibly increasing showers midday Saturday through the afternoon and evening hours. But as this plays on out into early next week, we're here to Monday morning, working our way now into Tuesday morning, midweek next week, and even toward the weekend. We just are not seeing our operational models really increase the probability of precipitation much through the next 10 days, which you would expect given that we see that larger ridge coming in. So with the change back over to hot conditions in the coming days, we're going to watch our evapotranspiration rates really skyrocket again. So in the Central Valley of California, we're seeing numbers here between 2.5 inches of total evaporation this week. And also as you get up to the Columbia Basin, we're going to see numbers there getting to be between 1.5 and 2.5 inches. So irrigation efforts are going to increase as this heat comes on. Now at this point over the next few days, I'm not seeing any stresses due to winds, which is also why right now the Weather Service isn't right now putting out red flag warnings and things like that for much of the Intermountain West in the Central Valley of California, but the heat is certainly coming back on, and we need to talk about it. In the day today, we're going to be seeing a lot of upper 90s in the Central Valley of California, with temperatures getting back up into the 80s in the Pacific Northwest. And as we play this forward, we see that in the day on Saturday, again, a day with a lot of upper 90s here in the Central Valley. And it's near average slight cool bias at 106 in and around Phoenix. But watch as we work our way from Saturday into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. This is where the ridge really becomes fully established early next week, and we're going to see 90s racing up the whole of the West Coast with triple-digit heat in the Central Valley next week. So that is certainly on. And you can see that at last, this is now getting into Wednesday and Thursday of next week as well. So that high heat situation that's going to be developing early next week tends to last throughout much of that time period. Going into the 6 to 10 day, we continue to see that the western United States does favor above average temperatures, but as you saw, once we got out to about day 10, the troughs began to sweep in from the northwest. And so that's why when you look out here into the 11 to 15 day, the GFS shows the cooling down, and the European really brings back in, temperatures that might be 4, 5, 6 degrees below average. So this is one of those years, and I'm going to have to study this a lot, that the temperature patterns going up and down. And many of you have asked me for good analogs to this year and asked, and I can't find any. I can't find a good analog that says, oh, this is exactly like it was at this time period, where that idea lasts or resonates for the whole of the West Coast is what I'm saying. So I think we're just going to continue on this while the jet stream remains unblocked. And until it gets stuck, which it sometimes does in summer, we're going to continue to see this pattern. Because notice, as you go out to July 3rd through 10th, what do we have again? So this would be week 3, the heat's building back up here. And so that certainly seems to be the case overall. With that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here, and I hope that you all have a great weekend. And again, just prepare for some above average temperatures next week and some higher evaporation rates. Remember, I'm still working on some fun new products for you. Sorry, I'm so delayed in getting them out, but it just takes a little while to perfect these things and make sure that they can pass a production test here. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Have a good weekend. Thank you.